Hi everybody, this is Ms. Brazil, and I'm going to be reading to you now the 5th chapter of our novel, Artemis, Fowl. And your job, as always, is just to follow along while I'm reading to you. If you get to a point where you need a break, of course, go ahead and pause the video. But remember, actually following along with your eyes and reading what I'm reading out loud is the whole point of this activity. It's going to help you build up your fluency. It's going to help you build up your reading stamina, which is really important for when you're taking a long test or for when you are having to read long texts for homework or once you get to high school in particular. So you're building that up. It's going to help you improve your word decoding skills because I have chosen a text that has some pretty challenging words. So the more you read, the better you get at these things. And obviously that's a good thing that will help you be more successful in all of your classes and then later on in life too. Reading is important for your entire life. So I appreciate you doing this activity. I know you guys have a lot on your plates right now, but hopefully you also kind of find this relaxing. But I know I do. Reading can be a very relaxing activity, and we all need to relax a little bit right now, right? All right, so as you know, I only get to record for 15 minutes at a time, so this is probably going to get cut into two different videos, which you don't have to watch one right after the other. You can, watch one day and a couple days later watch the next one. That's perfectly fine. And then I'll be posting a discussion post in Schoology with a very basic question that you can respond to underneath, and then I'll give you your cool Schoology badge. All right, here we go. Chapter 5, Missing in Action. Commander Root was sucking on a particularly noxious fungus cigar. Several of the retrieval squad had nearly passed out in the shuttle. Even the pong from the medical troll seemed mild in comparison. Of course, no one said anything, their boss being touchier than a septic bum boil. Foley, on the other hand, delighted in antagonizing his superior. "None of your rancid stogies in here, Commander," he brayed, the moment Root made it back to Ops. "The computers don't like smoke." Root scowled, certain that Foley was making this up. Nevertheless, the commander was not prepared to risk a computer crash in the middle of an alert, and so doused his cigar in the coffee cup of a passing gremlin. "Now, Foley, what's this so-called alert? And it better be good this time." The Centaur had a tendency to go completely hyper over trivialities. He'd once gone to DEFCON 2 because his human satellite stations were out. "It's good, all right," Foley assured him. "Or should I say bad? Very bad." Root felt the ulcer in his gut begin to bubble like a volcano. "How bad?" Foley punched up Ireland on the Eurostat. "We lost contact with Captain Short." "Why am I not surprised?" groaned Root, burying his face in his hands. "We had her all the way over the Alps." "The Alps? She took a land route?" Foley nodded. "Against regulations, I know, but everyone does it." The commander agreed grudgingly. Who could resist a view like that? As a rookie, he'd been placed on report himself for that exact offense. "Okay, move on. When did we lose her?" Foley opened a VT box on the screen. "This is the feed from Holly's helmet unit. Here we are, over Disneyland Paris." The Centaur pressed the fast forward. "Now dolphins, blah blah blah. The Irish coastline. Still no worries. Look, her locator comes into shot. Captain Short is scanning for magic hotspots. Site 57 shows up, red, so she heads for that one." "Why not Terra?" Foley snorted. "Terra? Every fairy hippie in the northern hemisphere will be dancing around the Lia Fail at the full moon. There'll be so many shields on, it'll look like the whole place is underwater." "Fine," grunted Root through gritted teeth. "Just get on with it, will you?" "All right, don't get your ears in a knot." Foley skipped several minutes of tape. "Now, here's the interesting bit. Nice smooth landing, hangs up the wings. Holly takes off the helmet. Against regulations, interjected Root. LEP officers must never remove. LEP officers must never remove their headgear above ground unless said headgear is defective, completed Foley. Yes, Commander, we all know what the handbook says. But are you trying to tell me that you never sneaked a breath of fresh air after a few hours in the sky? No, admitted Root. What are you, her fairy godmother or something? Get to the important bit. Foley smirked behind his hand. Driving up Root's blood pressure was one of the few perks of the job. No one else would dare to do it. That was because everybody else was replaceable, not Foley. He had built the system from scratch, and if anyone else even tried to boot it up, a hidden virus would bring it crashing around their pointy ears. The important bit. Here we are. Look. Suddenly Holly drops the helmet. It must land lens down because we lose picture. We've still got sound though, so I'll bring that up. Foley boosted the audio signal, filtering out background noise. Not great quality. The mic is in the camera, so that was nose down in the dirt too. Nice pea shooter, said a voice. Definitely human. Deep too. That usually meant big. Root raised an eyebrow. Pea shooter? Slang for gun. Oh. Then the importance of that simple statement struck him. She drew her weapon. Just wait, it gets worse. I don't suppose you would consider peaceful surrender, said a second voice. Just listening to it gave the commander shivers. No, continued the voice. I suppose not. This is bad, said Root, his face uncharacteristically pale. This feels like a setup. These two goons were waiting. How is that possible? Holly's voice came through the speaker then, typically brazen in the face of danger. The commander sighed. At least she was alive. It was more bad news, though, as the parties exchanged threats, and the second human displayed an uncommon knowledge of fairy affairs. He knows about the ritual! Here's the worst bit. Ruth's jaw dropped. The worst bit? Holly's voice again. This time layered with the mesmer. Now she has them, crowed Root. But apparently not. Not only did the mesmer prove ineffective, but the mysterious pair seemed to find it amusing. That's all there is from Holly, noted Foley. One of the mud people messes around with the camera for a bit, and then we lose everything. Root rubs the creases between his eyes. Not much to go on. No visual, not even a name. We can't really be 100% sure that we have a situation. You want proof? Asked Foley, rewinding the tape. I'll give you proof. He ran the available video. Now watch this. I'm going to slow it right down. 1 frame per second. Root leaned in close to the screen, close enough to see the pixels. Captain Short comes in for a landing. She takes off her helmet, bends down, presumably to pick up an acorn, and... there. Foley jabbed the pause button, freezing the picture completely. See anything unusual? The commander felt his ulcer churn into overdrive. Something had appeared in the top right-hand corner of the frame. At first glance, it seemed like a shaft of light, but light from what? Or reflected from what? Can you blow that up? No problem. Foley cut to the relevant area, increasing it by 400%. The light expanded to fill the screen. Oh no, breathed Root. There, on the monitor before them, in frozen suspension, was a hypodermic dart. There could be no doubt. Captain Holly Short was missing in action, most probably dead, but at the very least held captive by a hostile force. Tell me we still have the locator. Yep, strong signal, moving north at about 80 clicks an hour. Root was silent for a moment, formulating his strategy. Go to full alert and get retrieval out of their bunks and back down here. Prep them for a surface shot. I want full tactical and a couple of techies and a couple of techies. You too, Foley. We may have to stop time on this one. 10-4, Commander. You want recon in on this? Root nodded. You bet. I'll call in Captain Vane. He's our number one. Oh no, said Root. For a job like this, we need our very best. And that's me. I'm reactivating myself. Foley was so amazed he couldn't even formulate a smart comment. You're... Yes, Foley, don't act so surprised. I have more successful recons under my belt than any officer in history. Plus, I did my basic training in Ireland, back in the Top Hat and Shillaha days. Yes, but that was 500 years ago, and you were no spring bud then, not to put too fine a point on it. Root smiled dangerously. Don't worry, Foley, I'm still running red hot, and I'll make up for my age with a really big gun. Now, get a pod ready. I'm leaving on the next flare. Foley did what he was told without a single quip. When the commander got that glint in his eyes, you hopped too and kept your mouth shut. But there was another reason for Foley's complete compliance. It had just hit him that Holly could be in real trouble. Centaurs don't make many friends, and Foley was worried he might lose one of the few he had. Artemis had anticipated some technological advances, but nothing like the treasure trove of fairy hardware spread out on the four-wheels drive's dashboard. Impressive, he murmured. We could abort this mission right now and still make a fortune in patents. Artemis ran a handheld scanner bar over the unconscious elf's wristband. He then fed the fairy characters into his PowerBook translator. This is a locator of some kind. No doubt this leprechaun's comrades are tracking us right now. Butler swallowed. Right now, sir? It would seem so. Or, at any rate, they're tracking the locator. Artemis stopped speaking suddenly, his eyes losing focus as the electricity in his cranium sparked off another brainwave. Butler? The manservant felt his pulse quicken. He knew that tone. Something was afoot. Yes, Artemis. That Japanese whaler, the one seized by the port authorities. Is she still tied up at the docks? Butler nodded. Yes, I believe so. Artemis twirled the locator's band around his index finger. Good. Take us down there. I believe it's time to let our diminutive friends know exactly who they're dealing with. Root rubber-stamped his own reactivation with remarkable speed, very unusual for LEP upper management. Generally it took months and several mind-crushingly dull meetings to approve any application to the recon squad. Luckily, Root had a bit of influence with the commander. It felt good to be back in a field uniform, and Root even managed to convince himself that the jumpsuit was no tighter around the middle than it used to be. The bulge, he rationalized, was caused by all the new equipment they jammed into these things. Personally, Root had no time for gadgetry. The only items the commander was interested in were the wings on his back and the multi-phase, water-cooled, tri-barreled blaster strapped to his hip, the most powerful production handgun under the world. Old, to be sure, but it had seen Root through a dozen firefights, and it made him feel like a field officer again. The nearest chute to Holly's position was E1, Terra. Not exactly an ideal location for a stealth mission, but with barely 2 hours of moon time left, there was no time for an overground jaunt. If there was to be any chance of sorting out this mess before sunrise, speed was of the essence. He commandeered the L shuttle for his team, bumping a tour group who had apparently been queuing up for 2 years. Alright, I'm going to stop this video here, so you're going to want to move on to part 2 of chapter 5. Thanks for following along, you guys. You're doing a great job.